Welcome to Spotlight ETSU. I'm your host, Carrie Oliveira. Today we'll be speaking with Dr. Angela Radford Lewis about her work promoting diversity on campus. Dr. Lewis was part of the movement to construct a fountain in front of Sherrod Library to commemorate the first African-American students at ETSU. Dr. Lewis currently serves as the Associate Dean for the College of Education. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Lewis.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here. I like to start these interviews by having you tell us a little bit about who you are and how it is that you came to ETSU. So how long have you been at ETSU?
I came to ETSU in 2004, so I'm starting my 9th year here. I was a faculty member at Middle Tennessee State University in the Department of Human Sciences. I came to ETSU as a department chair for the former Department of Family and Consumer Sciences. Served as department chair for 5 years, and those were my first 5 years here. Great 5 years. After some reorganization on campus, our Family and Consumer Sciences department was split, and several of our programs went to various other departments. And as a result of that, we no longer have a Family and Consumer Sciences department, but we still have programs in that area. We have still have our interior design program, we have our merchandising program, and we also have our nutrition and foods program with the dietetics internship. Once the department was reorganized, I moved to the College of Education as the Associate Dean, and I'm doing that. I've been doing that for the past 3 years, so I'm starting in my 4th year there.
Is it that long already? I remember when that happened. I feel like that was like last year sometime.
In some ways it seemed like yesterday, and then now that I've gotten used to everything, it seems like I've always been there, yeah. But as the Associate Dean, I work with Dr. Hal Knight in the Dean's office, and I also work with our graduate program coordinators. I'm the first contact with the graduate school as it relates to
and the college
making sure
Education you have counseling, like the graduate programs, right? Counseling and human development and all that is in there,
probably
right?
Too many to name this morning, but actually we have about 17 graduate programs.
Is it that many?
Yes, that many.
I had no idea.
Counseling was one. We have several programs in our educational leadership and policy analysis, which is the principalships, the EDDs, the EDSs, the education specialist degrees. We have Masters of Education, Masters of Arts in Teaching. We have Masters of Education in Secondary Education.
And I know a lot of people who've been in a lot of those programs who didn't start in the College of Education.
Right, exactly. And we have, as you mentioned earlier, we have our counseling, have our master's program in our counseling. We recently added 2 new PhD programs. We have the PhD in Early Childhood Education, and we have a PhD, and I'll try to get it all right, Exercise Science and Exercise Physiology, which is over in our, through the, what was formerly the kinesiology, Department of Kinesiology, Leisure and Sports Sciences.
I didn't realize kinesiology was also under the College of Education.
Yes, it is.
You guys occupy a lot of space on campus.
Yes, we do. When I went to the College of Education, we had 4 departments. In August, we were 2 of our departments were divided, so we now have 6 departments. So we have the Department of Curriculum and Instruction, where students who are majoring in education for the elementary grades can focus and concentrate. And we also do our secondary education there. Students who want to be math teachers, history teachers, and so forth, major in their department, in the field, but get their minor in education, teacher education. We have the new Department of Teaching and Learning and a new department, Counseling and Human Services, which was split from Human Development and Learning. In the Teaching and Learning, those programs housed in Teaching and Learning are special education programs and the early childhood education programs, and our service learning area. In Counseling and Human Services, of course, we have counseling and we have our human services program areas there. And our educational foundational courses are also housed in the Teaching and Learning.
Okay.
We have the Department of Educational Leadership and Policy Analysis, where we have our graduate programs, again, that prepares administrators both for post-secondary, for regular schools and for the private sector. And then we have the kinesiology, leisure, sports sciences department that was split into the kinesiology, sport and recreation management department, which houses our exercise science and our physical education programs.
Okay.
And we have the new exercise and sport sciences department, which houses the sport physiology and sport performance programs. And that's where our PhD program is housed. So.
I had no idea, that we had most of those programs on this campus. So here's my question from a student standpoint. Okay. If I'm, say, majoring in, well, whatever, that's not education, is it hard for me to take an education class? Like, do I have to be in the College of Education to be taking ed classes? Just like, to get smarter about something. So it's like a family.
There are courses that you can take. Most of our courses, though, are sequenced based on our, our accreditation standards, our State Board of Education standards, and just making sure students meet the guidelines that will make them be qualified and knowledgeable so that they can receive teacher licensure.
Yes.
One other thing I want to mention, since you brought up teacher education, is that we are undergoing a new transformation of teacher education. It's a statewide initiative by the Tennessee Board of Regents, so all of the universities in the Board of Regents that offer teacher education are undergoing this new initiative called Ready to Teach. And the goal is to have students, when they graduate from college, receive their licensure, that they are ready to teach on the first day they walk into a classroom. So we're in the process now updating our curriculum, changing the way we do our student teaching. Our student teaching will now take on a more of a residency type style, like some of the health fields. So students will actually be in the school systems for a year.
Instead of just sort of like sitting in a classroom with a teacher.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And they will, one of the goals is to have them co-teaching with the teacher instead of just sitting there in observation mode for 2 or 3 weeks and then teaching. But they will start out co-teaching with the teacher. So we're working with the local school systems here and school systems in our region to, help with mentoring the mentor teachers, helping to prepare teachers on co-teaching and so forth. So it's very exciting. Our program will be implemented in fall of 2013.
That sounds like such a great idea. My sister was educated, she was an education student at the University of Hawaii, and one of her greatest complaints about the experience of doing that is she didn't feel like student teaching was actually all that useful because it didn't really put her in a position to actually get the experience. And part of it is like dealing with parents. It's all that sort of like administrative stuff, interacting with the administration and the parents or whatever else that I think student teachers are shielded from a lot of times by a regular classroom teacher. And
so we're hoping that this new Residency 1 and Residency 2 will give them that type of exposure where they will, again, be ready to teach on the first day.
That's a great idea. That is so cool. I imagine that modifying your curriculum, though, is...
That's a lot of work.
Oh my goodness.
That's a lot of work, and we've been working. I was just reading the third-year report because this has been in place for the last 3 years. They, planning stages. We have to submit a report to Tennessee Board of Regents, and so I was just kind of glancing over our
Here's
report.
how we're doing on that.
How we're doing, but we're plugging along.
A lot of work.
And the goal is to have it implemented by the fall of next year.
That's so exciting. So aside from like helping run the College of Education, you do a lot of other stuff on this campus. And a lot of your work, I know that you and I sit on the University Curriculum Committee together, and so I know that you're doing a lot of other sort of committee stuff, and a lot of your energy, I think, has been sort of funneled towards diversity on campus.
Exactly.
Well, so what's going on with that?
I started out, actually, when I came here, of course, my major role in diversity was serving on every search committee that came across campus, or at least it appeared that way.
Right. That's hard.
Yeah, that was hard. That could be challenging sometimes.
It's time-consuming.
Yeah, it's very time-consuming, and sometimes you just actually don't have, you just don't have the time or the skills you need. But as we started to celebrate our centennial here, I was able to get engaged with some of the committees and actually served on the Centennial Steering Committee. And during that time, we planned several activities, and one of the activities that came out of the centennial celebration was started by Dr. Dorothy Drinkard Hawkshaw, and I think I got her name backwards. I think it's Dr. Hawkshaw Drinkard. anyway, who's in the history department, professor in the history department. During our centennial celebration, she, working with some others, was able to find out about the first African-American students that attended ETSU. We were able to learn that in 1956, Dr. Eugene Carruthers was the first graduate student who was an African-American to attend here. And then 2 years later, 4 graduates from Langston High School, which was the African-American school for, the high school for African-Americans at that time, were able to come to ETSU. That was George Nichols, Elizabeth Watkins Crawford, Mary Llewellyn Owens Wagner, and the late Clarence McKinney. And they all started here in 1958. Dr. Drinkard brought that group of students, three of those. Dr. Carruthers has passed away. Mr. McKinney was ill at the time when she brought in the panel, but the other 3 were able to come in and give a panel discussion on their time here at ETSU and what it was like to be the first African-American students. The panel discussion was held back in January of the year. We were celebrating centennial, and it was attended by community people, faculty and staff, and students here at ETSU. When the panel discussion concluded, there were several students that talked to Ms. Laura Terry about doing something beyond the panel discussion to commemorate this historic, occasion.
Yeah.
And Ms. Terry had those students talk to Mr. Fred Saltzman, who in turn talked to me and talked to Dr. Drinkard. And as a result of that, a committee was formed to start looking at ways that we could commemorate the desegregation of ETSU. The committee was made up of Dr. Drinkard, who chairs the committee. I serve on the committee. Laura Terry serves on the committee. Fred Saltzman serves, and Joe Smith serves. And Mary Alexander, which is a person from the community. She's also head of the Langston Heritage Committee, which Langston High School was the African-American high school that I referred to earlier. So our committee has been working with the senior staff here at ETSU and working with the physical plant and design and InDesign and so forth to come up with a way. And as many of you know, we are having a fountain built there in front of Sherrod Library that will commemorate the desegregation
in that big space on the Borchak Plaza?
The big place. And also, in addition to that, Mary Alexander was very instrumental in getting a historical marker, also approved by the state of Tennessee, and the historical marker will be placed somewhere in that near vicinity of the fountain. So we're looking forward to that. Work is going on with the fountain. We're looking for a completion date, by December, January, and hope to do a great big celebration during the spring of next year.
Oh, that's so exciting. Did ETSU have a formal segregation policy, an institutional policy that prohibited the enrollment of African American students?
Once the courts had ruled that, it was that places had to be desegregated, ETSU just adopted the attitude that they would follow the law.
Right.
So they really had no policies, trying to keep people out, or they never established a system for trying to get people in.
Right.
It just happened after Dr. Carruthers, broke the barrier. Then the Langston faculty actually encouraged students to come, give it a shot. And those 4 students that I mentioned earlier were the ones who decided to step up to the plate to be the pioneers. I've talked to Fred Saltzman on several occasions about this whole situation, and as we were doing centennial stuff, we were looking for historical things and couldn't really find anything.
Right.
Dr. Drinkard has done a great job of really digging up some information, but what we found, and then talking to Fred, was that unlike so many other universities, when they were desegregated, there was no violence. So it wasn't a storyline.
Right.
So it just kind of quietly happened. Now, that didn't lessen the tension and the frustrations that those 4 students had to encounter when they entered here. but it was not to the point of violence and
the National Guard didn't have to
National
get called
Guard,
in,
exactly.
Which is not an uncommon
we didn't
experience
have
in other
people
places in the
trying to
country.
keep people out or
Yeah.
protesting and so forth. But so they were able to come on campus and for various reasons, they either stayed and finished their degree or they, left for other reasons. But again, they talked about the challenges that they faced and how they just kind of just stuck together, and they would meet over at what was the student center at that time to just kind of fluff each other up and keep each other encouraged,
Yes.
But they have some great stories to tell, and so it's very exciting that we can actually, commemorate the whole incident, the whole beginning of desegregation, and then to still have some of those students around. Unfortunately, Mr. Clarence McKinney passed away in August, but his family is still very engaged in the process and are looking forward to the unveiling of the fountain and so forth. I ran into his son a couple of weeks ago. He's like, "How's the fountain coming?"
That's good.
So we're excited, and I talked to others, Mr. Nichols and Miss Crawford. I just know, Miss Crawford is in Elizabeth, and so I know her through church, and so we get to talk or chit chat about it. And Mr. Nichols lives very close to my hometown, so occasionally we chit chat. But they are all very excited and very honored.
I was just going to ask
honored and humbled about that this is being done. And I think it's just a great thing that ETSU is doing. I want to say one other thing. When we were looking at this, Dr. Stanton was still our president, and Dr. Stanton readily endorsed it and still strongly supports having this done. One of my concerns, and I'm sure other committee members' concern, was when we had the change in presidents.
Yes,
will this just go away? But I want to commend Dr. Wilson Bishop, who stepped in and kept it on the radar, and then worked with Dr. Nolan. Dr. Nolan is behind it 100%, and so we're all very excited that this is going to happen.
That's so excellent. One of the things I was curious about as a result of dealing with the thinking about commemorating the event of desegregating the university is kind of think about the state of diversity among the ETSU student body at this point. And so I don't know what your sense of how we're doing in terms of that is. I ran into an article to sort of start that. I saw an article, I don't remember where I saw it published, but I believe it was a study done by Brown University that listed the 10 most and least diverse cities and areas in the country. The Kingsport-Bristol area is the number 4 least diverse in the country, in the entire country. And so I'm wondering if your sense of the diversity on campus is reflective of the fact that we live in an incredibly undiverse area.
I would say that's part of it. When you say Kingsport, Bristol area, was Johnson not included? Well, I'll just kind of give you a little off-the-cuff story. When we moved here back in 2004, it was my husband and my son. My son was a 7th grader at that time, and so we had gone over to Walmart to pick up some things we needed for the household, and we started looking around. I was like, "Do you all see anybody here that looks like us?" And they were kind of looking, "What have you gotten us into?" And then we found that when you go to the African American churches, that's where you find them. They do exist.
They're around here somewhere.
They are here. But I would say that the low numbers in a diverse student body are somewhat indicative of the environment that we live in. But I think, now that we live in a global society and we're operating in a global society, and that students have choices now. When I started out going to school back, years ago, it was kind of like, it was the given. You're going to go to the school that's closest to home. Your parents can afford that. They can get to you if they need to get to you and so forth. Well, that is changing now. People have choices, so I think it's imperative that ETSU make sure that they market themselves so that diverse students will be attracted to our campus. And then once they're here, that we make sure we have programs in place that will help to retain those students.
Are we doing anything actively to help increase the diversity, the ethnic diversity, any kind of diversity on the campus?
One thing that we've actually just, we haven't had our first meeting yet, but working with Dr. Joe Sherlin in Student Affairs, We now have a diversity collaboration task force, and I will be chairing that task force. And what we're doing, we're bringing together several individuals, and I'm not going to even try to list names because I don't want to leave anybody out.
Right.
But it's about 8 to 10 of us that will be working, and these are people who are working in various areas of dealing with multiculturalism and diversity and different cultures here in this region and outside of the region. So we will be coming together to see what type of collaboration we need to be working on that will provide more diverse opportunities for the students that are here, that will make the university more attractive to a diverse audience and so forth. Again, we'll be meeting in the next couple of weeks, but that is one thing that is going on. I know that there are individual departments and colleges that are seeking out, diverse individuals. One of the key programs that we have going, I had the opportunity to serve on this, was a grant that Dr. Keith Johnson was the principal investigator. He's the chair of the Engineering, Technology, Surveying, and Digital Media Department. I think I got all that out.
You would think they would find a more concise name.
Yeah, we were laughing about changing the name back a few weeks ago, but anyway. He, along with some of the rest of us, wrote a grant. It was a grant funded by the Tennessee Board of Regents to increase diversity in the faculty here at ETSU. And the basic summation of that grant, what we've done over the last 3 years, is work to develop a pool of faculty, potential faculty members of minority students who are finishing up their PhDs or are recent graduates with a PhD with a terminal degree. And by developing this database of potential applicants, we're exposing this database to colleges and departments as they hire, so that they can say, Keith is a witness to this, I'm a witness to this. We've often heard, well, we can't find anybody.
Yes.
So we've tried to take that away.
I'm gonna help you find somebody.
And so far, we have a database that has over 1,000 names in it.
How are you acquiring the data for that database?
For the last 3 years, we have been attending, it's the SREB. They have it's the Southern Regional Education Board, something like that. They do a Mentoring and Teaching Institute, and that's where they bring in various minority students like McNair scholars and so forth. They come in. It's about a 3-day conference where they come in. They have speakers. They have workshops on preparing a curriculum vitae. They have workshops on how to interview for jobs, things to get these people ready to walk out into the field of academia and, apply for jobs. And what we've done over the last 3 years, we've gone and set up a table, because they have universities there, they have tables like in the exhibits.
Yes.
We've taken a table to set up for ETSU. We've talked about ETSU. We've, talked to these students, had them fill out little information sheets. We've signed them up. I mean, I'm not into all the Facebook and all that, but we have people on the grant team that are working with the social media where we keep them informed. And then every year we bring them in during the week of, it's usually the second week in February, where we invite about 25 of them to come into campus, where they can be exposed to not only the campus, but we have meetings set up with the community, people in the community. They take tours of the town. We match them up. One of the key things we do on Friday, we match them up, so if they are an English major, we match them up with the English faculty member or the department chair for, now they have a new title too, but we would match them up with that chair, and so that they could kind of get a feel for what it would be like to be at ETSU. They come in on Wednesday nights or Thursday nights. We have a luncheon where they are able to meet with the key administrators on campus, and we invite all the deans and so forth. So it's a way, Keith describes it, and my first husband who has passed away, was a basketball coach. And so we have kind of taken it on when my husband was a recruiter. And the way you recruit, you didn't wait till that student started walking across stage.
No,
you
it's too
started,
late by that
you started
point.
looking at them.
You got to get in their head.
Right, you start courting them. And so that's like developing a courting relationship where we're building relationship with these people. So when they see an ad saying ETSU is looking for a particular, faculty position,
I'm connected to them.
I'm connected, and that's it, the connectivity.
Yes.
And again, building this database where departments, colleges, and search committees can look and say, well, this person has this background, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And they can,
Do you suppose that increasing the diversity of the faculty is going to have a sort of a ripple effect on increasing the diversity of the student body as well?
I certainly do, because I've had students come up and say, oh, I'm so glad to see you.
So glad.
To see you.
Yes.
Yeah. And actually, I attend Friendship Baptist Church down on West Main Street.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we'll have students come, they'll stand up, we recognize our visitors, and they'll stand up and say, I'm a student at ETSU. And it's a couple of us, Dr. Sarone Foster is working in biology now as a lecturer. She attends my church, and I'm there, and so we make a beeline to these students, passing out our cards.
Right,
if you need anything, if you need to talk to somebody,
you have somebody here.
that you can, because that's very important, that people can connect
and
to
it
somebody.
reduces the anonymity of everything. It makes you feel like there is something about this place that cares about me and that I can identify with.
And I know that there are people, and just, we sometimes get stuck on that people need role models when they're first graders in elementary and middle school. College students need role models. I would not be where I am today had I not had
it not been for mentoring.
Mentors and great role models in my college experience.
Yes.
And so that's what we hope to offer here. And I think by having a more diverse faculty and a diverse staff, that students can say, I really can fit in here. So I'm excited about what we're going to do. When I first came here, I could probably count on one hand if I walked across campus, how many diverse students I would see.
Yeah.
But now it's starting to say, oh, well, there's a group over there. So I can see
that look a little more colorful.
Right,
in fact, I have stats here, actually. Oh, shoot. I don't know what years these are from. Back in 1998, the percentage of African-American students was 4.6. That stayed pretty steady. We're up a bit to, I think as of 2010, number of African-American students, steady percentage.
Steady.
Pretty steady, but in general, I think the diversity of the population has increased just a little bit, but I mean, that's something that we have to pay attention to.
And we want to focus beyond just African-American students, just by having diverse students, when, it's from an Asian background or a Hispanic background, or Latino background, or African-American background. When we bring in diversity, we can all learn from each other, and it just broadens everyone's horizon.
Yes, I would totally
and
agree
I
with
think if we're going to prepare people to go out and function in today's society.
In the world.
Right, because they're not going to be just functioning in Johnson City or
Unicorn
East
Tennessee. We want them to go out.
Right, we want them to go out, and we want them to be able to communicate, interact with people that are different from them.
And not even just functionally communicate with them, but also to have like an appreciation.
Right, appreciate and a connectivity.
Yes.
A connectivity.
And I think that's the hardest. You can't teach that like in a
Right.
classroom, right? You can't.
No, you can't. But experiences and exposure goes a long way.
And I think it's so cool, and I do a lot of work with the Office of Student Affairs also, and so they have, I can see the programs that they have on campus that are designed to encourage, minority students of all sorts to be able to fit in on campus and feel connected. And so I think it's so exciting that there's new task force and all that to help increase diversity on campus and to make sure that we're doing very good things to help students feel integrated and to change the face of ETSU, I think, in a very positive way. So I think the work you're doing on this campus in that regard is outstanding. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Lewis. We've been speaking with Dr. Angela Lewis about her work promoting campus diversity. Join us next time on Spotlight ETSU. So that was fun. I learned so much from that.